and I'm here tonight with Kimberly Oliver to give you an update on our negotiations with Mount Vernon School. I'm paraphrasing or takeaway from what Mayor Paul said, but that was the message we heard. As a result, the school reached out to us in March. Since then, we have been negotiating with the negotiating team from Mount Vernon School, which was their board chair, their head of school, and one other, and we had reached what we and they considered to be a balanced understanding on the substance of a perpetual deal that would govern the lighting, sound, landscaping buffers, and use parameters on the school's outdoor athletic fields across the entire 40-acre campus, while maintaining parameters of peaceful and quiet enjoyment for the neighborhoods. Mount Vernon School chose to build one field rather than the two they had the right to build to meet the needs of their cross-country and track families and reduce construction costs. In July, Kimberly Oliver and I presented this balanced understanding to our respective neighborhoods, had a long meeting, lots of questions, lots of answers, and we obtained the approval of our respective neighborhoods and reported that back to the school. We were told that understanding was endorsed by the executive committee of the school as well, and the school acknowledged the understanding in a communication to their school family on July 25th, saying that there was a big announcement. They stated, quote, "We believe we have achieved a balanced understanding acceptable to all parties and hope to have this finalized in the weeks to come. This means that we do anticipate having lights on the Ron Hill field." That perpetual agreement called for 10 nights of lights and sound on the field until 9:30 and 18 nights of lights only for practice until 7. In August, Mount Vernon School then advised us that their athletic director pushed back and wanted additional night of practice on Mondays. We seriously considered that and agreed to it. Even then, okay, I'll pass this on to Ms. Oliver.
Good evening. Kimberly Oliver. I'm the president of Mount Vernon Woods Community Association, and I live at 6485 Williamson Drive. So we started to talk about in August, the athletic director pushed back and requested additional lights for practice. And we, under further concessions and talking to the neighbors mostly impacted, we agreed to that. After that, Mount Vernon School came back again and proposed major changes, increasing game night lights by 50%, doubling practice nights from 24 to 48, extending practice hours till 7:30, and limiting the agreement from a perpetuity to 10 years. After further consideration from the neighborhood, we countered with a 20-year term, one extra night of lights and amplified sound for the football team, and extended practice lights till 7:30. But we could not agree to the double the night of practice lights. We went through a lot of consideration determining practice lights by the season, the game schedule, and how many teams played. We agreed to allow practice lights from January 15th to March 1st, which is unfortunately the hardest season for our neighbors because there's no vegetation on the trees. Unfortunately, Mount Vernon School Board treated the negotiation compromise not as a resolution, but as a starting point to push for more, seeking its full wish list without equal regard for neighborhood impact. We considered the needs of the school and tried to accommodate those needs. After agreeing to a 20-year agreement instead of in perpetuity, adding 6 more practice lights until 7:30 and an additional 1 more football team, Mount Vernon School would not agree. We were very disappointed and shocked when the board did not agree with our balanced agreement. It's important to recall where we started. We don't want lights. And more importantly, we certainly don't want the noise and activity that those lights will bring. We want peaceful and quiet enjoyment of our homes, and we believe their efforts will change the character of our two communities in a material detrimental manner. However, not wanting to fight this fight every year and understanding that, as Mayor Paul asked us to do, compromise requires some flexibility and trade-offs. One of the biggest trade-offs for us was to achieve an agreement that would buy peace in perpetuity. Therefore, there is no deal, unfortunately. There is no agreement. We believe Mount Vernon School is not acting in good faith. When you come up with a balanced agreement in July, they come back in August wanting more, they come back in September wanting more and changing what we all agreed to, including the announcement they made to their own families in July. So that is our update.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Any other?
No.
All right, we'll close the public comment period. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. DiGiulio.
I move approval of the meeting agenda for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025.
We have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on approval of the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The meeting agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul.
Ms.
I
Rochelle.
move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, October 21st.
We have a motion by Ms. Rochelle. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rochelle, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on approval of the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Moving to public hearings, will the clerk please read the first item?
This is agenda item number 2025-248, consideration of a resolution to approve the Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for River Corridor Review, RC 2504SS for 870 Edgewater Drive. This will be presented by Community Development Director Ginger Sotile.
Ms. Sotal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For your consideration is the approval of a resolution to authorize a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for the property located within the Chattahoochee River corridor at 870 Edgewater Drive. The applicant is proposing to It's all right. Do you want me to repeat it when it comes up?
I was trying to read it, and I couldn't figure it out, so.
All right. All right, here we go. All right. For your consideration this evening is the approval of a resolution to authorize a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for the property located within the Chattahoochee River corridor area at 870 Edgewater Drive. The applicant is proposing to construct a new single-family home, and the Atlanta Regional Commission has reviewed this application and found that the project is consistent with the Chattahoochee River Corridor Plan, and given this determination, it is staff's recommendation to the Mayor and City Council to approve this resolution to authorize a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for the property located at 870 Edgewater Drive.
All right, you've heard the report of the Community Planning and Development Director. What's the desire of council? Mr. Paulson.
Hang on. I move approval of agenda item 3025-248, approve of Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for River Corridor Review RC 25-04SS for 870 Edgewater Drive.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve agenda item 2025-248, a resolution approving Metropolitan River Protection Act certification for a River Corridor Review RC 2504SS for 870 Edgewater Drive. Any discussion? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Public hearing. Any comments? No. All right. We'll close the public hearing. What's the desire of council? Oh, we got that. All right. Any discussion? I have to start over again, go through my sequence. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-248, a resolution approving a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for 870 Edgewater Drive. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to new business, clerk, please read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2025-249, a request for City Council, for Mayor and City Council to approve a non-binding conceptual job cost estimate with Georgia Power Company for overhead to underground utility conversions for the Hammond Drive Corridor Improvements Project, and to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. This is presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Tonight I bring to you a request for your support for a non-binding conceptual job cost estimate with Georgia Power Company in the interest of providing overhead to underground utilities as they would be associated with the Hammond Drive Widening Project, S2193. In this particular project, the city has requested that Georgia Power provide us an estimate to underground the aerial facilities at the Harleston Road, K-Run Drive, and Laurel Terrace crossings of the Hammond Drive improvements. Georgia Power's non-binding cost estimate for this work is $905,000, with the payment to be due later, prior to mobilization. With that, any questions, Mayor and Council?
All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item 2025-249, approval of a non-binding conceptual job estimate with Georgia Power Company for overhead to underground utility conversions for the Hammond Drive Corridor Improvements Project, and to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second? Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Mr. DiGiulio, that we approve agenda item 2025-249, a non-binding conceptual job cost estimate with Georgia Power for overhead to underground utility conversions for the Hammond Drive Corridor Improvements Project. Any discussion? Ms. Rochelle.
I'm just curious, are they the only ones that can underground their own lines? Or
Yes, ma'am. We've
No.
explored that territory before with them as we've sought to take aerial facilities underground here. So, and we will as well be seeking, we'll have to as well discuss relocations with AT&T and Comcast as they are out there as well.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-249, a non-binding conceptual job cost estimate with Georgia Power for overhead to underground utility conversions for the Hammond Drive Corridor Improvement Project. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-250. This is a request from Mayor and City Council to approve a supplemental construction agreement, number 1, to the construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and the Georgia Department of Transportation for construction of the City of Sandy Springs' portion of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension project, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement, also presented by Public Works Director Marty
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, in this case, the city entered into the original construction agreement for this Path 400 project in November of 2024, with the purpose of awarding the contract to the current contractor, FS Scarborough, in the amount of $20,150,923 at the time. The city also anticipated and subsequently awarded a construction engineering inspection contract to Atkins Realis in the amount of $1.489 million, as well as a material testing contract with Nova Engineering and Environmental in the amount of $285,000 in November of that year. Subsequent to that, and with a request at Atlanta Regional Commission for additional funding, Atlanta Regional Commission was able to source and provide the funds required to provide the 80% match on both the construction engineering inspection and the material testing. With that in place, the city then requested of the Georgia Department of Transportation a construction agreement amendment, this supplemental agreement, to encompass the additional funds Atlanta Regional Commission had provided and endorse them or capture them here with an increase now in the overall agreement to capture the entirety of the cost of both of construction engineering, inspection, as well as material testing, with the city local match of 20% documented as well.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council? Mr. DiGiulio.
I move approval of item 2025-250, the approval of a supplemental agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and the Georgia Department of Transportation for the addition on additional portions of Path 400.
Have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second? I'll second. Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item 2025-250 and a supplemental construction agreement for the construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and Georgia Department of Transportation for construction of the Sandy Springs portion of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-250, a supplemental construction agreement to the construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and Georgia DOT for construction of the City of Sandy Springs portion of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-251, consideration to approve contract award to Excellior Construction LLC to construct the Mountain Creek Road Stormwater Maintenance Phase 1 project and to authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, tonight I bring forward to you a construction contract award recommendation to Excellior Construction for construction of the Mountain Creek Road Stormwater Maintenance Phase 1 project, and request the authorization for the city manager to execute that contract in the amount of $354,970. In 2024, the city engaged a consultant to develop plans to correct deficiencies identified in the stormwater system underneath Mountain Creek Road near the properties located at 5760 and 5775 Mountain Creek Road. The work developed by the consultant includes restoration of approximately 90 linear feet of 72-inch corrugated metal pipe using centrifugally cast concrete pipe method, installation of one cast-in-place reinforced concrete head wall with veneer on the upstream embankment, installation of gabion baskets for stream bed protection, and replacement of a section of the existing driveway at 5775 Mountain Creek Road associated with the work. To advance the project, the city issued an invitation to bid on April 19th of this year, and one addendum was issued to that invitation to bid on September 12th of this year. Bids were received from 3 contractors by September 19th, 2025. Bid results with 3 bidding contractors indicated Excellior Construction LLC at $354,970, compared very favorably with the engineer's construction cost estimate for the work of $425,000. With that, staff recommends this project be awarded to Excellior Construction in advancing this project.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item 2025-251, the approval of a contract award to Excellior Construction LLC to construct the Mountain Creek Road Stormwater Maintenance Phase 1 project, and to authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item 2025-251, a contract award to Excellior Construction to construct the Mountain Creek Road Stormwater Maintenance Phase 1 project. Any discussion? Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Marty. Real quick, have we worked with Excellior before?
We
How
have.
did
They're
they do?
doing a couple of our roadway projects, as a matter of fact, right now, and they've been doing very good work for us. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-251, approving a contract award to Excellior Construction for the Mountain Creek Road Stormwater Maintenance Phase 1 project. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-252. This is consideration of a resolution to authorize application to and participation in the Georgia Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Competitive Funding Program, and to approve the required local funding match. Authorize the city manager to execute the grant award agreement, and for other purposes. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, tonight I bring before you a request for your approval for us to enter into an application for a competitive funding program for a federal transportation alternatives and congestion mitigation grant. This year, GDOT is administering this competitive proposal as opposed to Atlanta Regional Commission in years past. Sandy Springs is eligible for both types of funding, both the Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grants, often referred to as CMAQ grants. Notice of opportunity was issued September 15th, and applications are due for this grant October 31st of this year. Quick overview of eligible project types for this grant monies: pedestrian and bicycle facilities, as evidenced by the TA portion, and roundabouts and other emission-reducing intersection improvements as associated with the CMAQ portion of the grant. Project requirements, as with most federal grants, a 20% local funding match, and another stipulation of this particular program is that the work cannot increase emissions within the area, so no capacity improvement or increased projects, et cetera, no additional lanes, et cetera. Priority given to those that mitigate emissions and reductions, and as well, an added emphasis this year is projects that improve safety. Notification of award for this particular grant is expected in late April of next year. The project recommended for this particular grant is review of all eligible candidate sites within the city is a streetscape side path on Holcomb Bridge Road from Spalding Drive to the city limits at Chattahoochee River. If you're familiar with that area, there is no development at all along that road shoulder on the Sandy Springs side of Holcomb Bridge Road there now. So thus, no walking or bicycling facilities exist out there on that side of the road. This project would connect Holcomb Bridge Road, River Exchange pedestrian improvements already constructed by the city, as well as provide connection to community destinations, including groceries, services, and parks out in the area. It bridges a gap that would be a cross-jurisdictional network. City of Peachtree Corners is pursuing a Crooked Creek Trail into the south of Spalding Drive, and the City of Roswell has a planned shared use path along Holcomb Bridge Road that would as well potentially connect into this improvement here. We recommend that council authorize the preparation of an application for this particular project with a total cost of $3.5 million, $3,565,000 is indicated here, but a federal share request, $282,852,000, and a local match required of $713,000. That local match, if you saw the date when we expect the grant to be announced, would not be until April that the grant would be announced. So we would look to next fiscal year's budget as the requirement for this particular local match if that grant were approved. So in advance, though, the agency seeking city endorsement or willingness to accept the local match requirement. With that, Mayor and Council, do you have any questions regarding this project?
All right. You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-252, a resolution to authorize application to and participation in the Georgia DOT Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Competitive Funding Program and to approve the required local funding.
I have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Rochelle, that we approve agenda item 2025-252, authorizing an application to and participation in the Georgia DOT Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Competitive Funding Program. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Mayor Paul, I have to adjust my motion because I didn't get to the next page. I'm supposed to authorize the city manager to execute the grant award agreement, and for other purposes, I didn't flip the page quick enough, so please add that to my motion.
All right, we'll amend your motion to include that.
And I have two questions, Marty. Two things. One, this is an area that there is no ability to walk or ride on our side of Holcomb Bridge Road, so this is a great idea. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. Does this include construction?
Yes, sir.
It
This
does
is a
include
project
construction.
and it's soup to nuts in this case. And if you
Okay.
notice to the no walkability, et cetera, you can see the pedestrian desire path, that rut in
Oh,
the
yeah,
grass
I
on that
agree with
road
you.
shoulder there is evidence of that.
The other question is, there's a big project going on at Holcomb Bridge and Spalding where the DOT and I guess Gwinnett County is managing that project.
Yes, sir.
They're reworking that pretty significantly. Does this project dovetail in with that, and how will it dovetail in there?
The pedestrian facilities provided in that particular project are relatively modest, but as you are aware, early on in T-Splost, we did construct the side path already on Spalding down to that intersection. So just if you're familiar with the area, there's a side path that goes effectively from our new park on Spalding Drive all the way to this intersection, Holcomb Bridge and Spalding. Then there's a very small segment of sidewalk just at the gas station at the corner, and then no development, as you note, from there north from there on Holcomb Bridge Road. This project would extend that significant investment the city made a few years ago. If you recollect, at the time we partnered with Gwinnett to replace the bridge and build the side path as part of T-Splost then. So that's the project envision. And more so it glues into that earlier work we laid out with Gwinnett then, as well as the improvements we've made immediately at the park frontage on Spalding Drive at River Exchange there.
Okay, well, I just don't want to commit to something and then that project cause us to tear it up. So
Right.
just coordinate to make
Yes,
sure we're not stepping on anybody's toes. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Dr. Kelly?
All right, thank you. I have two questions for you. I am currently searching the term safety action plan in our website. How does, is it available to the public? How do you pull it up? Because I want to see all those tier ones.
I believe it's Safe Streets for All.
Safe streets for all. All right, so we might want to be consistent with that language then. My second question is, this particular stretch, is it included in our capital sidewalk program?
No, ma'am, it's not. It has not been scored there.
Oh, why not? Is there a particular reason? Is it side path?
In most cases, especially on our state routes, Roswell Road being a case in point, we haven't scored in sidewalk program because of the very large capital size of those projects. We haven't scored those segments. So none of Roswell Road, for instance, was ever scored in the capital sidewalk program because of the very nature of the large capital investment there. We make the projects too large for capital sidewalks. That's been a policy and a practice since we began the sidewalk program back in 2008. This much the same here on Holcomb Bridge Road.
Okay. All right, I found it.
All right, thank you. And again,
Thank you.
Tier 1, thank you.
Any other
I
discussion?
have a quick question.
Ms. Rochelle?
When I was reading this, I was thinking about all the grants that we approve, and do we have a list of ones that get approved, or because I'm always curious, did we get this one or did we not?
We include a periodic update in Inside Sandy Springs when we have a few to announce, but they do take quite some time. And with many of the recent changes in Washington, there have been delays on decisions about grants.
Thanks.
Ms. Mueller?
So actually, I had asked for that, and you did put that together, Eden. Thank you. And you do send it out, and it's probably time to update that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-252, a resolution authorizing application and participation in the GDOT Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Competitive Funding Program. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-253. This is consideration of a resolution to authorize a second amendment to the lease agreement between Georgia Power Company and the City of Sandy Springs for certain property located at Land Lot 84 of the 17th District, Fulton County, Georgia, and being more particularly described and/or depicted in the original lease and the amendment, and to authorize the city manager to execute the same. Presented by the Director of Recreation and Parks, Brent Walker.
Mr. Walker?
Evening, Mayor and Council. The City and Georgia Power entered into a lease agreement in April 2012 to provide river access and a dog park on property located at Morgan Falls. Subsequently, the City and Georgia Power entered into the First Amendment to that lease agreement in May of 2022 for the construction of Section 2A of the Springway Trail. Since that time, City staff have completed the conceptual design for the improvements of the Morgan Falls Dog Park and submitted that for review to Georgia Power. As part of that correspondence, Georgia Power informed the city that a second amendment to the lease would be necessary due to conductive materials being used in the improvements. The dog park improvements will include new shade structures, dog agility equipment, a wash station, and improved ground cover and drainage. Therefore, staff recommend that the mayor and council approve the second amendment to the lease agreement with Georgia Power for the property at Morgan Falls so that improvements to the dog park can be completed.
You've heard the report of the Director of Recreation and Parks. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-253, a resolution to authorize a second amendment to the lease agreement between Georgia Power Company and the City of Sandy Springs for certain property located at Land Lot 84, 17th District, Fulton County, Georgia, and being more particularly described and depicted in the original lease and the amendment, and to authorize the city manager to execute same.
Motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion by Dr. Kelly, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve agenda item 2025-253, authorizing a second amendment to the lease agreement between Georgia Power and the City of Sandy Springs for property located at Land Lot 84, 17th District, and being more particularly described and or depicted in the original lease. Any discussion? Ms. Mueller.
Oh, well, no, go. It's your motion.
Oh, I just wanted to know what was next, assuming this gets approved.
So once the
What's
lease
the
is
next
approved, that basically gives us the ability to move forward with construction documents now that Georgia Power has agreed to the concept, because that was the holdup, was getting them to this point where we could get the okay to construct what we wanted to on their property. So
Okay.
next would be construction documents and then out to bid.
All right, and we don't have to engage them or wait on them.
No, ma'am.
Any
This
longer.
gives us the authority to have access to the property to do the construction.
Thank you.
Ms. Mueller.
So, Brent, I know there's a wash station. Will there also be water available? Because that's a big issue today.
Yes, we've got the water meter, should be any time now to be installed, and we have one more quote left to get the water line run from the intersection of the park.
All right, so the
down to
pups will have water. And then it looked like there were some trees. Are we going to plant a good number of trees, or how many trees, and where will they be located?
So we have to be careful, certainly under the overhead power lines that are down there. We did plant several trees along the new, where we did the grading and redirected the channel that's outside of the dog park. We planted that up. That's kind of the only area we can plant in. We do have to maintain an area through the dog park that remains open, because at some point they may have to bring in large equipment to access the overhead lines.
Okay.
So we do have to have clear zones within the park itself too. So
Okay.
minimal planting.
Yeah, the shade structures are really going to be needed because it's, it gets really hot there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So Georgia Power had to re-review the design because of these conductive materials. Did we have to do anything to the design, or do we have to change anything?
No, it basically just makes us responsible for the conductive material. There's already conductive material there now. You have the chain link fence. We have a shade awning structure there, those metal poles. But they just wanted to make sure that we were aware that we're responsible for anything that we install on the property.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-253, authorizing a second amendment to the lease agreement between Georgia Power and the City of Sandy Springs for property located at Land Lot 74, 17th District, described more particularly in the original lease. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please
Thank you, Mayor.
read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-254, consideration to declare city-owned real property located in Land Lot 93 of the 17th District, Fulton County, Georgia, more commonly known as 4865 Kitty Hawk Drive, as surplus, and to authorize the advertisement for sealed bids for the sale of said property and for other purposes, presented by City Attorney Danley.
Mr. Lee.
Mayor and Council, the city owns, by way of a deed from December of 2008, approximately a little more than 10% of an acre at the intersection of Kitty Hawk and Long Island Drive. The staff believes that this is surplus, has no benefit to the city, and under Georgia law, in order to potentially sell it, has to be declared by the ultimate deciders, that be you, that it is surplus property. And the recommendation before you tonight is that it be declared surplus property and placed out for bid to see what could come of it.
All right, you've heard the report of the city attorney. What's the desire of council? Mr. Paulson.
Hang on. I move approval of agenda item 2025-254 to declare city-owned real property located at Land Lot 93, 17th District, Fulton County, Georgia, more commonly known as 4865 Kitty Hawk Drive, as surplus, and to authorize advertisement for sealed bids for the sale of said property and other purposes.
Have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. DeGiulio, that we approve agenda item 2025-254 to declare city-owned real estate property located at land lot 93, 17th District, Fulton County, more commonly known as the 4865 Kitty Hawk Drive, as surplus and authorizing an advertisement of sealed bids for its sale. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
do we have an estimate of what the value of this property is?
Yes, sir.
Can you?
It wouldn't be appropriate to talk about it in an
Fair
open
enough.
meeting.
You're right. Thank you.
The motion before you is to declare it surplus. I would remind you that you're sitting as property owners and you're trying to find the best price, if in fact you declare it surplus, the best price for the people of Sandy Springs, so it would not be appropriate to talk about it. This was initiated by an adjacent property owner who wants to buy it, but because of the restrictions of Georgia law that the city can't go out and just sell property, you have to declare it surplus, or the council has to vote to declare it surplus, and then a bidding process has to start before any negotiation could happen. If in fact a bid is received or bids are received, as the decider of the sale of public property, you would have to then vote to decide if you wanted to take some offer that came from that sale.
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Baumann, then Ms. Rochelle.
So I have some concern. I mean, this is the property that does adjoin Long Island Drive.
It does. It's right in the corner.
I mean, it is not a pocket park, but it is shaded green space that I think that the community of walkers, it's just shaded space. I think this is premature. There hasn't been really any public hearing or public vetting of this that I'm aware of up to now, and I'd like to see about tabling this with pending further discussion with area stakeholders, people that live in that community, both in the Cherokee Park area and surrounding areas. We have very little excess space. I don't really have enough detail on this at this point. So I'd like to offer an amendment to, or I'd like to see if I can make a motion to
A
table
motion
this.
to table is always in order.
I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Is
just like to
there
table
a
this.
second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Baumann, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we table agenda item 2025-254. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Yes.
Just again, to table this, we are reaching also the end of a council and mayor term. This is a non-urgent matter. I'd like to see this pushed off at least for a couple of months while the community gets to weigh in on this, to really think through also our policy of dealing with surplus property. I don't know where else this is relevant around the city. We're setting a precedent, so I think this just should be tabled for further discussion and consideration, both in the specific instance and also for the citywide ramifications.
All right, we have a motion to table. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is tabled. Clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-255. This is consideration of a resolution to quit claim deed property known as the Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park. That's tax parcel number 17-00089, 00110476, and tax parcel ID 17-089, 00110484 to the City of Sandy Springs Public Facilities Authority. This is presented by Director of Economic Development, Chris Burnett.
Mr. Burnett.
Mayor and Council, this is a preliminary item to what you all will hear shortly in the upcoming PFA. It relates to the Williams Payne property and the adjacent property to that was acquired by the city from the county in 2006. And we, at the time, it was acquired in the city's name. And the reason that we're asking you to approve this conveyance tonight to the PFA is because under state code, I believe it's 366013, states can enter into long-term lease agreements, but only so long as they have an annual maturity or annual expiration date within their leases. And given what you'll hear about in the PFA meeting relating to the city's goals of leasing the Williams Payne House, an annual lease maturity would not work in that case. So we are proposing tonight that council approve the conveyance via quitclaim of the Williams Payne property to the PFA, so then the PFA can enter into lease negotiations with a potential tenant.
You've heard the report of the Director of Economic Development. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item 2025-255 A resolution to quitclaim deed property known as Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park, tax parcel number 1700890011-047-6, and tax parcel number 1700890011-0848 to the City of Sandy Springs Public Facility Authority.
I have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second? Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Rochelle. Excuse me, that we approve agenda item 2025-255, a resolution to quitclaim deed property known as Sandy Springs Historic Site, parcel listed in the agenda. Any discussion? Mr. DiGiulio.
Does this include the entirety of the historic site, the house, the band shelter, the old heritage building, that whole block, or is this just where the William Payne House is?
So there are two parcels. One is where the Williams Payne House is located, and the other is the small adjacent park where the gazebo, there's a fire pit there as well, walking trails, but it does not include the Heritage Green nor the Heritage Building or any other sites. There were 6 parcels in total at one time. These are only 2 of those 6 parcels. I believe it's correct. The others will remain in the city's name.
Actually, not to correct you, Chris, but it does include Heritage Green. It does not include Heritage Amphitheater. Now, what you're being asked in this decision is to quit claim the 2 parcels outlined in blue on the screen in front of you to the PFA. We are not contemplating that the tenant will have a lease to the larger parcel that says 109 Hildebrand, which is the Heritage Green. They'll only have a lease to 6075 Sandy Springs Circle. But you're being asked to convey both of these to the PFA at this time.
Yeah, you got the floor.
Since this area is part of what we've considered for City Springs 2, and since we're doing it anyway, and since it all belongs to the city, even the actual spring is located on this property, the actual Sandy Springs, why aren't we just doing the whole thing?
We can, if you want to. The thought process that we had as staff, because council had been insistent that we would not be doing anything to take away from what the spring would be. It would not be redeveloped, so to speak, and neither would the green where the amphitheater is. But if you'd like to add the amphitheater and heritage building to it, we can certainly change that.
I just don't see why it would not include that, to be honest with you. Should I make an amendment to include the whole
Mayor, if I
parcel?
could.
Let's let the city attorney opine.
Okay.
One other point I think you ought to consider is that all this property, as you will remember more than anybody, came in from Fulton County. And believe it or not, it's never been surveyed. So a survey has been ordered. And what Chris is, I think, asking you tonight is to identify an area where the survey will fall that will be the leased property that eventually would be attached to the lease. That,
Not the leased as the smallest, the leased as in a lease.
yes, the leased correct. The leased property will be identified in the survey that is being conducted right now. And what he's bringing to you tonight is a way to get it over into the Public Facilities Authority so we don't slow down the lease arrangement with the tenant. But the more specific diagram via the lease will come back to the council.
Now, are we having the entire parcel surveyed or just these 2 parcels?
Just the property that would be leased out of that, the ones that Chris has identified.
Just that part is being surveyed, the rest of it is not being surveyed.
That's right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-255, a resolution to quitclaim deed property known as Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park. Tax parcels listed in the agenda to the City of Sandy Springs Public Facilities Authority. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to reports, folks. I think that our 20th anniversary gala was a very good success. The foundation raised money for the Performing Arts Center. They're still doing the accounting and balancing. We're not exactly sure how much they've raised, but we should have that very soon. We'll hopefully be able to report that to council very soon. We just had the Oktoberfest this weekend, another very well-attended event. And then a couple of things that I participated in. I presided over the Metro Atlanta Mayors Association, where we had a very broad discussion about the World Cup, talking about all the plans and preparations. It's going to be an exciting time for the Metro Atlanta area. They made very clear that they didn't want everybody in downtown Atlanta. They want to spread them out across the entire region. So our Visit Sandy Springs and the Performing Arts team are working together to come up with some ideas how we can host some events out here on the green and maybe use some corporate activity in the conference center. And then the last thing was today I was honored to participate in the Atlanta Jewish Academy's commemoration of the October 7th event or tragedy. And so the kids put on a very, very, very moving performance today, recounting all the events around October 7th. That's it for me. Anybody else? Mr. Baumann.
So, Mayor Paul, thank you for the update. We have a lot planned for City Green and our city center area due to sort of the times that we're in. I just want to leave this and throw this out there for the planning. This may be really the last time or not that I have a chance to say this publicly, but we need to see more programming around the city. And the idea of more events on our city green, while maybe appealing, is not, in my view, in the best interest necessarily of the city. That I have heard from folks, in fact, I've had this very conversation with owners of property on the north of Abernathy, north of Dalrymple, in fact, in regards to the World Cup. So I would like to ask that the city now and in its planning keep an open mind to locations that are not just in our city green, but in other parts of the city where folks want to feel included in our events. That could include maybe some of the underutilized shopping centers north of Dalrymple, where we could do tented events. But I would just ask that the city staff, Eden, and this council, future councils, consider whether there are options outside of the city green for the programming that we do as a community and spend millions of dollars on. Some of that needs to be spread to other parts. Thank you.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, you mentioned the celebration 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, and we had the big tent out on the lawn, and the big tent stayed up for Oktoberfest this past weekend, which I thought was a pretty good idea, and it helped. And then I noticed it's out there today, and it's being used for the event today. So this is pretty interesting. Is this tent of this size, is this of interest in the city potentially acquiring this, or are we better off just renting it? And if we're going to do events in shopping centers up in the north end, as Councilman Baumann is saying, maybe a tent like this, maybe not quite this big, but maybe a tent like this might be worth it. I don't know the cost of these things, but it sure worked well for these 3 events that we happen to have.
And that is something that I've already tasked Dave and Bill with looking at. Bill, from the perspective of if we have enough demand for rental opportunities to use it, because I do not anticipate that we would as the city, because a tent that size, the rent was over $30,000. So buying one of those tents is going to be very expensive, not to mention the cost of storing it. I did not realize, but the truss is one solid piece. It is not put together. This is all one. So to be able to have that somewhere, it is definitely something we've been talking about ever since it first came in, but it will be going down tomorrow.
We've been able to spread that cost over 3 events, so that was it made it cost effective. So, any other? Okay, Ms. Carlisle, money.
Good evening, Mayor Paul and Council. This is the review for the August 2025 unaudited financials. On page 1, we are at 16.67% of this fiscal year. Revenues are at 4.72%, and expenditures are at cumulatively 15.16% of the budget. We're starting to see a little bit more activity in the revenue section, as many of the tax revenues are received in subsequent months or quarters. The expenditures for the departments are shown on pages 9 through 28. Overall, the operating expenses are at 15.16% and are being expended according to the approved budget. The remaining pages cover the special revenue fund, capital projects, debt service, and enterprise funds for your review. And this does conclude the review for August 2025 unaudited financial report.
Any questions of the Chief Financial Officer about the financial report? All right, hearing none, that brings us to the end. Mr. DiGiulio?
Hang on, Mayor Paul, do we have an executive session tonight?
No, we don't.
We it's on here.
mentioned that at the beginning. Mr. DiGiulio moves adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we adjourn the city council meeting but don't go anywhere. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Council meeting is adjourned, but we are now moving to the Public Facilities Authority. Let me finish my paperwork. I would like to call this special meeting of the Public Facilities Authority to order for Tuesday, October 21st. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make the general announcements?
First, I'd just like to begin by reminding everybody in attendance to silence those cell phones and other electronic devices. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Chair Rusty Paul.
Present.
Member John Paulson. Here. Member Melody Kelly. Here. Member Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Member Jody Rochelle. Member Tibby DiGiulio. Here. Member Andy Bauman.
Here. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda? Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on approval of the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The meeting agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Rochelle.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes for September 16th, 2025.
We have a motion by Ms. Rochelle. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Dr. Kelly or Ms. Mueller? Okay. We have a motion by Ms. Rochelle, seconded by Ms. Mueller, to approve the meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on approval of the meeting minutes. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting minutes are approved. Moving to new business, will the Secretary please read the first item?
This is agenda item number PFA 2025-20, consideration of a resolution to approve a contract with Hussey Gay Bell and DeYoung International, Inc. for architectural design and engineering services for the new fire stations, number 1 and 4, and renovations to fire station number 3, and authorization for the general manager to execute the contract, presented by Facilities and Operations Director Dave Wells.
Mr. Wells.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In July, the city initiated a competitive qualifications-based solicitation to choose an architectural and engineering firm for 3 fire station projects, 2 new fire stations, Fire Station 1 and 4, and the renovation of Fire Station 3. We saw significant industry interest, receiving proposals from 17 firms. After an initial administrative review to ensure compliance, 1 firm was deemed non-responsive. An evaluation committee, including Chief Sanders, myself, and Richard Collins, the construction manager, then independently reviewed each submission. The scoring was based on the firm's experience, team's quality, and project delivery, each accounting for 25% of the score, as well as the approach and innovation at 15% and financial stability at 10%. After a thorough evaluation, the top 3 ranked firms, Croft & Associates, Hussey Gay Bell and DeYoung, and POHW Architects, were invited for interviews and presentations, where they discussed their team's quality, project approach, and previous experience. The committee then agreed that Hussey Gay Bell and DeYoung was the most qualified, followed by Croft Associates, and then POHW. We then reviewed fee proposals. Although Croft Associates submitted a proposal offering an architectural fee calculated as a percentage of total construction costs, this approach introduces significant uncertainty relative to the city's overall budget management and project management needs. Because the total construction cost cannot be determined until design is complete and project is bid, the actual compensation under a percentage-based agreement could not be confirmed or capped at this time. This poses a risk of cost escalations to the city and provides no defined not-to-exceed amount for budget proposals. To contrast, both Hussey Gay Bell, DeYoung, and POHW proposed fixed-fee structures with clearly defined not-to-exceed value that provides a greater cost predictability and financial control during both design and construction phases. The fixed-fee approach aligns the city's procurement objective of awarding contracts on a known and controllable cost basis, and therefore recommended for award. POH proposed a base fee of $1,865,300, with several embedded inclusions in their pricing, including FF&E, special equipment such as AV, material testing, site and utility surveys, and cost estimating beyond 65% design. They also reserve the right to adjust fees upward if all the project. Their pricing assumes that the fire stations 1 and 4 will be designed as prototypical facilities. Hussey Gay Bell proposed a fee of $2,108,780. Despite the higher cost, their proposal represented the best overall due to the extensive public safety experience, proven team depth, and strong commitment to commitment engagement. To date, Hussey Gay Bell has completed over 40 fire stations, which includes Fire Station 2 and 5. Their team includes 175 professionals across 12 disciplines, and the principal in charge has committed to dedicating 50% of his time to these projects. Their proactive approach includes listen and learn, listen and first, workshops, and regular communication with both city staff and the community, ensuring concerns like traffic, noise, and property impacts are addressed. Based on their proven track record, comprehensive understanding of the project requirements, and thorough proposal, the Evaluation Committee unanimously recommends awarding the design contract for Fire Stations 1, 3, and 4 to Hussey Gay Bell, DeYoung. Therefore, it is further recommended that the Public Facility Authority approves a resolution authorizing a contract with Hussey Gay Bell, DeYoung, Inc. for the architectural design and engineering services for the new fire stations number 1 and number 4, as well as the renovations of Fire Station number 3. Thank you for your consideration.
You've heard the report of the Director of Facilities, Capital Construction, and Building Operations. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item PFA 2025-20, resolution to approve a contract with Hussey Gay Bell and DeYoung International for architectural design and engineering services for the new Fire Stations 1, 4, and renovation of Fire Station 3, and authorization for the general manager to execute the contract.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. DiGiulio, that we approve agenda item 2025-20, resolution approving a contract with Hussey Gay Bell and DeYoung International for architectural design and engineering services for the new fire stations 1, 4, and renovations to station number 3. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul?
Mr. Paulson.
Assuming we approve this tonight, when does all this get started?
As soon as we get that contract signed, we'll kick it off. We're hoping hopefully by the end of November, early December.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Rochelle.
Did they also do the design for 2 and 5?
They did.
And were there any amendments to the quote or to the agreement during those times?
Amendments to you mean change orders?
Yeah, change orders. That's what I meant. Change
No,
orders.
there were no change orders.
No?
To there.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item PFA 2025-20, a resolution approving a contract with Hussey Gay Bell and DeYoung for architectural design and engineering services for new fire stations. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The Secretary, please read the next item.
PFA, this is agenda item number PFA 2025-21, consideration of a resolution to accept a quitclaim deed for the city of Sandy from the City of Sandy Springs for property known as the Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park. That's tax parcel ID number 17008900110476 and tax parcel ID number 17008900110484, presented by Director of Economic Development, Chris Burnett.
Mr. Burnett.
Mr. Chairman, the PFA members, this is a continuation of the conversation we had in council regarding the transference of title to the Williams Payne House properties from the city to the PFA so that we can then discuss the next item, which is the lease agreement that's proposed. So we're asking you as PFA members to accept that property as ownership by the PFA from the city.
I've heard the report of the Director of Economic Development. What's the desire of council?
Chairman Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item PFA 2025-21, a resolution to accept the quitclaim deed from the City of Sandy Springs for property known as the Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park, tax parcel number 1700890011-047-6 and tax parcel number 17-0089-0011-048-4.
Have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second? Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Rochelle, that we approve agenda PFA 2025-21, resolution accepting a quitclaim deed from the City of Sandy Springs for the site known as Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park. Any discussion? Mr. DiGiulio.
Dan, I have one question. When these properties were purchased in 2006, I believe it was, when they were transferred from Fulton County to the City of Sandy Springs, were there any covenants in those agreements that about the transfer of ownership again? And if so, would transferring it from the city to the Public Facilities Authority kick any of that stuff off?
It would not, and generally the covenant would have to do with public use, and the Public Facilities Authority would fulfill that covenant. It's a good question.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on PFA 2025-21, resolution to accept a quitclaim deed from the City of Sandy Springs for property known as Sandy Springs Historic Site and Park. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Excuse me, the item is approved. Clerk, the Secretary, please read the next item.
Agenda item number PFA 2025-22, consideration of a resolution to authorize the Public Facilities Authority General Manager and the City Attorney to negotiate a lease agreement with Summit Sandy Springs LLC and to authorize the Authority General Manager to execute the lease agreement, presented by Economic Development Director Chris Burnett.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you. So now that the city has voted to convey the property to the PFA and the PFA has voted to accept it, let's talk about the reasons for this transaction, which is a commercial lease agreement for the Williams Payne property. Give you a little refresher course, and we'll try to be brief, but our listing and selection process, I know you all have been, we've been discussing this for a while now. We conducted a RFP process for listing agents. The shopping center group was selected to present the city in the marketing of the Williams Payne House to potential tenants. Mr. Alan Shaw from the shopping center group is with us tonight. I want to thank Alan for his great work in bringing us a real myriad of potential tenants that showed interest in this property. Also want to thank our economic development specialist, Madison Melton, who worked very closely with Alan as well throughout this process. And they did an excellent job of getting us to the point of the discussions we're having tonight. I believe, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, there were over 50 inquiries about this property. You showed it to over 30 prospects. And from that, narrowed the list down initially to seven letters of intent were distributed, of which that was 3 responses were discussed and reviewed. And one of the major issues has been the city's, or in this case the PFA's, reluctance to provide tenant finish dollars, what's called a T&I allowance in the commercial real estate world, because obviously the city investing money into a business could represent risk to our taxpayers. So in our discussions with interested parties, we would let them know that it was not the desire of our community to invest dollars into the TI, which whittled that down to 3. And from those, Alan and your staff, your team here, have recommended that lease agreement be awarded to Summit Sandy Springs LLC, doing business as Summit Coffee. So who is Summit Coffee? Opened originally in 1998, a group of young gentlemen that went to Davidson University together. They have grown over the years to 20 locations currently. They are in, I believe, going into Johns Creek in the Medley development when that is completed. So that would be number 21. And this location, if you all accept it, would be location number 22. Adam Cook and Team Summit. In fact, Adam is with us tonight along with his partner, Mike Anna, back here. And you guys are, if you'd like to speak with them, they are both involved very much in the day-to-day operations. In fact, Adam is the general managing partner of this venture, and they both live here in Sandy Springs. So they have very, very close roots to our community. And you'll see Adam's quote about not just the importance of selling food and coffee and beverages, but also of creating a special place, a destination for our community, which we've all talked about as a very important part of this selection process. This is a quick map of Summit's current locations because they were born out of Davidson University. They began in North Carolina and are across the North Carolina corridor, which is where the majority of their stores would be naturally. They have also moved into South Carolina, into the Charleston market, and then moved into the Atlanta market in recent years with 4 locations in Atlanta currently open: Roswell, City of Roswell, Brookhaven, Dunwoody, and Emory Village. Sandy Springs would be number 5, and Johns Creek would be number 6. And so they've got good operating history spanning almost 27 years at this point from the original startup of the organization. So Summit Coffee is a restaurant, indoor, outdoor seating. There would be bookable space for events in the Williams Payne House and also in some of the exterior spaces on the patio behind the building. Standard and seasonal menus, I believe, I think you said, Adam, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it'll be a long day for them, 7 days a week. They'll provide baking operations. They'll also have an outdoor alcohol bar. And this is unique. They have this in only one of their other locations, and that's in what they call Base Camp, which is the original Davidson location. And it's their own ice cream. It's called Summit Creamery, and they'll be operating out of the Williams Payne House as well. And one of the things we've talked a lot about with Adam is the activation of this facility for our garden clubs and the Old Heritage Sandy Springs and the Sandy Springs Society. And as you all know, we are a plethora of nonprofit organizations and citizens who care deeply about this community. And they understand that sense of pride and engagement here and are very much into creating that sense of place and working with these organizations to make Williams Payne to assure that it continues to be a very vibrant and special part of our community. You'll see up there our lease agreement. We'll review that in a little more detail in just a moment. I'm going to go quickly through this. These are some interior shots of some of their current locations, plus some of the color patterns and seating that they will use. They've already done some extensive planning on the first and second floors of the building. And in fact, Dave Wells and I met with Adam today to talk through some of the issues, structural and other natures of the building that we'll be sensitive to given its historical status. And I know that doesn't tell you much right there, but as you can see, they've done plan reviews already of how they would intend to renovate the space. So let's get into the financial pieces of this. We're probably looking at a 6-month period of time for them to renovate the property and be ready for opening. That would put a target opening date of around June 1st of 2026. We're looking at abating the first year of rent, and I'm not going to say that I think it's a great location there, but as we know, it is charting new waters. There's currently not a retail establishment in that particular area of Sandy Springs Circle. And also, you're going to have extensive construction ongoing across the street with Trammell Crow's Hillcrest development that from time to time could create traffic challenges and perhaps even parking challenges, and obviously lots of dust, as we're already seeing at some of the businesses down the street from that site. And given that it's an initial lease term of 10 years, and it's very much important to us to make sure that they're successful there, we've proposed a 12-month rent abatement with their lease payments beginning on the first day of the 13th month. starting at $25 per square foot for what we consider to be the leasable, usable retail space, which is 2,030 square feet. And it would increase in different increments, as you see there, climbing by year 5 to $27.50, then in year 6 to $30 a foot, and continuing with annual 2% increases until at the close of the 10-year term, they would be paying $32.49 a square foot. They have then also requested 2 5-year renewal options, and the lease payments would continue to go up in each of those renewal options by 2% per year. But when you look at the first 10 years, it would be total rental collections to the city of $528,000. For the most part, this is not what's called a triple net lease. They will be not taking all of the building at their own expense. But for the majority, for example, there aren't property taxes on that property, so there will not be a need for them to pay property taxes, but they will be covering their insurance cost. They'll be covering, the city will provide basic landscape services, but anything like heavy plantings, they'll either be doing it themselves or they'll be working with the North Fulton Garden Club, which currently does plantings there at the Williams Payne House now. And of course, they'll cover all of their utilities cost, security, and things of that nature, the things that are required for them to run their business. We're going to turn the building over to them in good working order. The HVAC and mechanical systems are relatively new. Dave tells me he thinks we replaced these in the last 3 or 4 years. Dave, is that correct? And so we believe that they're in good working order, and electrical panels and everything should be pretty much ready for them to take possession of. So economically, in addition to the $528,000 in rent payments in the first decade, if you consider the additional investment they'll make in furniture, fixtures, equipment, and hard cost, they'll put another approximately $281,000 of their dollars into this project, minus the commission to the shopping center group would be an economic impact, in essence, to the city over a decade of $788,000. So any questions on that before we go to the next slide? All right. How does this lease with Summit and their engagement in this property meet the goals that we've discussed for Williams Payne? First of all, I think it's been important for all of us to select a user that really preserves the beauty and the history of the Williams Payne House and the surrounding grounds, and to provide a highly desirable patron experience across a broad demographics of community. Given that the company has been in business since 1998, again, this will be their 21st or 22nd location. They're in other markets like Sandy Springs, like downtown Roswell or Dunwoody or Brookhaven, where they're very accustomed to serving residents so similar to ours and activating with their communities in those markets. We think they're an excellent selection to also activate the Williams Payne House for the city. Select a user with strong operating history. Financial security is important to us. The last thing I think the PFA wants to be doing is having to force a business out of the building for non-rent payment. So it was important to us to look at a company that had been in business for a number of years like they have, and who's making a substantial investment of almost $300,000 of their own money into the property. Principals from the company will be personally guaranteeing this lease, so they're making a real financial commitment to the city. Generating acceptable financial terms to the city, which we believe this does. As you saw there in rent, it's $528,000 in the first 10 years, plus the additional improvements they'll make to the house. And finally, we're looking at this to some degree as the initial activation of City Springs 2.0. It'll be the first food and beverage project in City Springs 2.0, and perhaps could set the stage and be a prelude for what could come down the road in the future. So for those 4 reasons, we feel like Summit represents the right selection for this property. So that's our presentation. I will say that we've got some additional rental numbers if you'd like to see them in years 11 through 15 and 16 through 20, but we really focused on the first 10 because we felt like that was the financial window that you all would be most interested in seeing.
You've heard the report of the Director of Economic Development. What's the desire of council?
Chairman Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item PFA 2025-22, a resolution to authorize the Public Facilities Authority General Manager and the City Attorney to negotiate a lease agreement with Summit Sandy Springs, LLC, and to authorize the Authority General Manager to execute the lease agreement.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second? Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Rochelle. that we approve PFA 2025-22, a resolution authorizing the Public Facilities Authority General Manager and the City Attorney to negotiate a lease agreement with Summit Sandy Springs LLC and authorizing the General Manager to execute the lease. Any discussion? Ms. Mueller.
So I think this is fantastic news. I was really excited, and I even got more excited when I learned that we have owners from Sandy Springs. I mean, wow, that's a great bonus. And I can't wait to have my first cup of coffee, some beverage, maybe some music. And I think it's good news that we're going to also work with, I know the North Fulton Master Gardeners had an interest back in September about coming in and working on some of the gardens around the Milk House. So they can do beautiful work, and I hope we still work with them. Thanks.
They've actually already reached out.
Oh, great.
And Dave, was it you that talked with them, or somebody, city talked to the North Fulton Master Gardeners, and we're going to make that connection with Adam and his team and get that relationship building.
Yep. Thank you, Chris and team, for your work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks, Chris. Point of clarification, we just quick claim deed 2 parcels to the PFA. This lease pertains to just the William Payne House, that parcel, or is it strictly the building? And how does that affect their ability to use the other lawn area that's on the second part? How does all that work?
So, John, to Dan's point earlier, we will be doing a survey of the property, and we'll create delineating lines that will become an amendment or an addendum to the lease that will reflect what Summit Coffee will be leasing. It is the Williams Payne House, and the land immediately surrounding it. There are some pathways there. There's a pathway that comes in from Sandy Springs Circle into the top floor of the house. There are 2 pathways that come in on the side, one on the south side from Sandy Springs Circle, one on the north side from Hildebrand. So their property will encompass those pathways as well, and it will go to the stairwells that go down into the green space, but will not include any of that green space. What we've talked about with them is if there are events that the city is doing, and we've already had groups secure that property for the day, then they would obviously need to be respectful of that and not have events there. But if the park is not being used, they could come to the city like any group would and request to have us issue a use permit for them to use that. And we've talked about, for example, having a guitar player on the gazebo and have chairs set up there in the green space, and they would manage that process. We've talked about them. There's a fire pit area there. Talked about them getting that cleaned up and sort of shaped up so we could start doing a s'mores party on Friday nights or ideas like that. So it would be, they would not have unfettered use of that, but we would certainly hope that they would take advantage of that green space almost as an additional way of activating with our team here at the city, using that space for events that really serve the community at large. There would not be a prohibition. The public could come at any time. The public will still have uses of the pathways, the stairwells, the green space, so there will be no prohibition at all of the public having access to the facility. And obviously for them, they want their patrons to be able to have a cup of coffee on their patio and then walk right down the steps with their dog and take a walk through the park. So I think it's a great synergy between the two. But from a legal perspective, they will only have the grounds of the Williams Payne House and the house itself.
Thank you.
Mr. DiGiulio.
Yeah, Chris, in the past, that green space was used a lot for weddings and other type of thing. And as I mentioned earlier, the original Sandy Springs is in that green space on there. So are they going to maintain that area down there, or is that something the city's going to do, or are they going to maintain it when they need it, or how's that going to work?
So, Tibby, we will maintain the landscaping agreement, the city. We've already introduced Adam to Amy Harris, who works in Bill Haggett's group for the theater group. Talked to Anna Nicholas, who also does programming for the city. And so we're going to make those connections. And so when Adam and his team have an event that they want to talk to the city about, they'll reach out to those people. And again, if the space is available, the green space down below is available, and it's an event that seems to be a good fit for the community, then they'll work with our team here at the city to execute that. But we will do the physical maintenance of the grounds.
Well, it's good that it's going to be utilized again.
Yes, sir.
It hasn't been utilized in years now.
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Ms. Rochelle.
Well, I want to welcome you to Sandy Springs. We're very excited. You have a great house. I'm just curious. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, and there was an avenue called Summit Avenue, and I was just wondering if you got the name from that or where the name came from. No? Okay. I was hoping you were from Greensboro.
Any other discussion?
Welcome.
Mr. Bauman.
I want to add my thanks, and yes, it's a big bonus that y'all are from here. I've heard talk about coffee and other things. I'm looking forward to ice cream. I'm an ice cream guy, not a big coffee guy, but I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to having you. Chris, there was some history before this. We went through a process before the shopping center group, and I'm glad that they came in, because when we drove the process, we had some prospects as well, right, before this.
So you all will probably recall this went through two RFP processes.
That's right.
The first RFP process in 2024 did not garner any proposals at that time. The second RFP process, we officially received 2 proposals. Summit had actually, we had gotten kind of late into the process and was not able to get a proposal in time to meet the RFP process.
That's right.
But with the RFP process, what we kept experiencing was the fact that we were not getting the property out into the hands of the business community.
That's right.
To provide knowledge that the property was available. And honestly, that's what folks like Alan and his firm do, and other great real estate firms that are here in Sandy Springs. They got exposure for us, got the property into the listing services. They have contacts within the retail community, especially the restaurant sector. Coincidentally, it was Summit that ended up coming back and being the winning bidder, and that was for a lot of reasons we talked about, but we did get a lot of exposure. We had some other very interesting uses, but we felt like, given what our goals were for the property, both from an activation standpoint, from a lease risk mitigation standpoint, meaning an investment from them, which they're making a healthy investment in the project, and from their experience over now almost 30 years in activating facilities like this in communities across the Southeast, it just intuitively feels like the right
I think it's
fit.
a great choice, and I think I'm really glad that most of us held out. There was talk of a CBD type user. It wasn't just CBD, but there was an opportunity to go down the road with the CBD business that might have had some bakery as well. I don't remember all the details, but I'm very happy that I pushed back, that some of us pushed back on that, and that we held out and we're getting the right use for the city.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item PFA 2025-22, a resolution authorizing the City Public Facilities Authority General Manager and City Attorney to negotiate a lease with Summit Sandy Springs LLC. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please, our secretary will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number PFA 2025-23. Consideration to approve and accept the settlement and dismissal of the civil action styled Sandy Springs Public Facilities 30 versus Rosser International, Inc., and to authorize the chairman to execute the settlement agreement and release presented by City Attorney Dan Lee.
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Public Facilities Authority, you'll recall that the city entered into a contract with Rosser International to be the architect for this facility we're sitting in, and eventually the city assigned that contract to the Public Facilities Authority. Construction began, and it was a contract where the architect was supposed to stay ahead of the contractor so many days, and not long into the contract, they got behind. As the project developed, the city, as most construction projects will have, found deficiencies and complained of the deficiencies, and toward the end of the project withheld money from the contractor for those deficiencies. The contractor took great umbrage with that and filed suit against the city. In that complaint, it alleged these deficiencies of our architect. At that time, our construction law firm, Taylor English, determined that Rosser International was about to go under. And in order to protect the city's interests, we filed a lawsuit against Rosser International to recover any damages that would result from the lawsuit with Holder. We eventually settled the lawsuit with Holder and progressed the lawsuit against Rosser. Rosser did go into receivership. At that time, our complaint against Rosser, we were able to recover a verdict of $4.1 million. But at that time, the claim morphed from a construction discussion to an insurance issue. Rosser's insurance carrier alleges that they did not get proper notice from Rosser of the lawsuit. We allege that that is not accurate and that some duty was held by their insurance agency. That was a great debate. Cross complaints were filed, and we have been to mediation for the second time. In this mediation, thankfully, and we're here to make a recommendation that we settle this matter for a sum that Rosser's insurance carrier would pay without any admission of liability, $900,000. My co-counsel in this matter, who is an insurance expert, agreed that this is the best avenue for the city. It does two other things. One, it closes all the attorney's fees that have been costly in this matter. And secondly, it ends the dispute that has added some sort of a scar to this wonderful facility for as many years as we've been in it. This would conclude all of the discussions that we have had about problems with the facility. Some of the damages that were included in that $4 million since that verdict, as the cistern, the cost estimated was $1 million. The contract that has been signed places that repaired about $238,000. So there have been some reductions in the costs that were projected that we were seeking against the architect's contract. We believe the $900,000 is a good resolution of a long, hard-fought matter.
You've heard the report of the city attorney. What's the desire of the Public Facilities Authority? Ms. Rochelle.
I move that we approve agenda item PFA 2025-23 to approve and accept the settlement and dismissal of the civil action styled Sandy Springs Public Facilities Authority versus Rosser International, Inc., and to authorize the chairman to execute the settlement agreement and release.
We have a motion by Ms. Rochelle. Is there a second? I'll second. Motion by Ms. Rochelle, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item PFA 2025-23, acceptance of a settlement and dismissal of the civil action style Sandy Springs Public Facilities Authority v. Rosser International, and authorize the chairman to execute the settlement agreement. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
This is 8 years old, something like that, 7 years old, 8 years old.
The lawsuit, the original Holder lawsuit was filed in 2019, and ours was filed in the end of 2019 against Rosser.
6 years.
6 years.
Well, I'm glad it's coming to a close. Obviously, I wish there was more money involved, but negotiations are what they are. Let's get this done and get this behind us.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item PFA 2025-23, approving and accepting the settlement and dismissal of the civil action style Sandy Springs Public Facilities Authority versus Rosser International. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Let me announce the vote. The item is approved. Mr. DiGiulio. Mr. DiGiulio moves adjournment. Seconded by Mr. Paulson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned.